sweet baby girl. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So for this video, I wanted to share with you Jean's birth story. She is about to be 3 months old now, so yeah, you're turning 3 months old, which is wild to me because I feel like I just gave birth to her, and I realized I never sat down or just like talked to you guys and shared the birth story. I filmed my labor and delivery vlog, so that was just as I was going, but now I can actually like process what happened and just kind of share with you behind the scenes and talk it through. And it's just also really sweet to like think back on because so much has happened in that amount of time. So first, I'm gonna go grab a bottle for Jean. Right now, my oldest, Noelle, she's napping, hopefully, so I have some downtime to just chat and share with you guys. It's been a while since I've done that because I've had a hard time finding like a sweet spot where I could just like sit down and talk, but we're just gonna go for it. First, we actually need to do a diaper change. Okay, let's do that first. We gotta get you fresh. Okay, let's go, let's go, let's go. Currently warming up some milk right here. This takes about like 3 to 4 minutes. So far Jean is drinking about like 4 ounces every feeding. So, okay, where do we begin? I gave birth November 5th, 2023. And that day I was at 39 weeks pregnant at that time. And that day, like leading up to it, I wasn't getting ready at all. Like I thought, oh, maybe today would be nice just to get dressed up a little bit, do hair and makeup, and let's go out as a family to go to like a coffee shop and just walk around. And so we went to a coffee shop, and then we went out to lunch. And I should probably backtrack, but leading up to 39 weeks, I had already started feeling contractions, like Braxton Hicks. Just leading up until that moment, probably like around 37 weeks, 38 weeks. And I kept thinking like, oh my gosh, is this gonna be the real thing? Is it labor? I gave birth to my firstborn at 39 weeks. So I was thinking like maybe around that time, like she would come. And so, well, that going back, fast forward back to that day, we were just hanging out, grabbing lunch, and at that point I had started feeling more regular contractions. They weren't very strong yet and they weren't coming in that close. So at that point I had started feeling like regular contractions come. So since I've experienced labor before, I was just thinking like, okay, are these like intense contractions? Are they like mild ones? Like I could still talk through it. But as we were finishing up lunch, I started feeling like really intense contractions, and my belly had already dropped so low. I'll try to insert a picture. I took a picture of myself like that day in the morning, and looking back, my belly was so low, like she was ready to come out. And so after lunch, it was a very chaotic lunch, by the way. I remember that day very vividly because it was just the 3 of us, me, my husband, and my daughter Noelle. Yeah, you're waiting for food. It's almost ready. We're telling everybody the day that you were born. Okay, we're almost there. 1 more minute. I have a timer set. But yeah, I remember that day so vividly because at lunch we went to go try like a new barbecue spot, and it was one of those days where a toddler tantrum happened, and it was a rough lunch period for all of us. And yeah, it was just a lot of big emotions that day. I felt like there was like a shift in the energy, like my daughter knew that her baby sister is coming. I just had a sense for something, like something felt different. And so when we got back to the car and started driving home, I was tracking my contractions, and they were coming more frequently. At that point, they were coming like every like 6 minutes, lasting for about a minute. And as we got home, we like hung out for like another hour. I just started feeling kind of like restless. Yeah, we're feeling restless. Okay, we're gonna continue the story upstairs. Okay, we got the milk. Let's go upstairs, feed her, and we'll continue chatting. So Jean just fell asleep as I walked back up to our room, so I'm gonna feed her when she wakes up, but let's continue our story. So we're back home now, and I just get this restless feeling that I'm like, we should probably go to the hospital. And so I just start packing. At that point, I had not packed my hospital bag yet. I was not an early packer. I know some people pack it like way in advance, and I probably should have done that, but I was just you know what, this is what it is. I don't know if it's like a second time mom thing or I'm just kind of like go with the flow, but I just started packing and I packed pretty minimal at this point. But yeah, I was telling my husband, like, I think we need to go to the hospital later today because the contractions are coming like way more frequent and way more intense. And what I mean by intensity is that like you just kind of like stop and pause to breathe it through, and then you're able to talk again after the contraction passes. So for me, the intensity I really felt it in my lower back, and they weren't like normal period cramps, and they were just more like intense, like it was harder to breathe kind of contractions. So I knew something was up. Also, I started to feel felt more pressure down my like pelvic area, because I think she was just dropped so low because she was ready to come out. And so we called the hospital. We told them the updates about how my contractions are coming more frequently, and at that point it was like every 4 minutes. I'm gonna double check my phone. I'm gonna look back on the contraction app because I was just timing them, but I'm not really good at timing them. I've come to realize, because I would look back and I would forget to like start and stop it. So sometimes it would go on like I would have like an hour contraction or something crazy. So let's see, this is kind of trippy to look back on. So looking back, I was starting to have them every 7 to 8 minutes, and then by the time I decided to go to the hospital or called them, I was having them like every 5 minutes. But we live pretty far from the hospital, so I decided to go earlier this time. So we live pretty far from our hospital, so I felt like we needed to go there a little bit earlier this time so we didn't feel like so rushed. I remember last time, like we made it in time, like I didn't give birth in the car or anything, but I started feeling really intense contractions when we got there. And so this time it was a little bit more bearable. We weren't at that point yet, and so at around like 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. we started driving to the hospital, and it was kind of trippy because it was around the similar time frame of when I went to the hospital for my first labor, and so that was like a really big deja vu moment. So when we got there, I was still feeling really like energetic and peppy. I was like really dressed up that day and I haven't dressed up at all, so it made me feel like more awake than usual. And so when we got to triage, the nurses thought like, oh, like this girl can't possibly be in labor right now. I don't know if I was too happy or I had too much energy. But we went in there and they checked to see how dilated I was, just to see the status. And when they checked me, I was at 6.5, like 7 centimeters dilated. Same thing happened with my first pregnancy. When I went in there, I was already 7 centimeters. So I labored a lot on my own at home, which is wild, and what I had wanted again, hoping it would happen again, because I knew it wasn't going to be like the exact same. And I was so grateful that I had a good birth experience the first time. All I could hope for is something similar or better. So I was able to labor a lot at home actually. And so I was 7 centimeters dilated, around like 90% effaced again. So at this point my water didn't break yet, and last time my water broke there on its own after a few hours. But this time when we met up with the nurse, they said that since I'm having really good momentum right now, like would they like to break my water instead of me just waiting. So I decided to go with them breaking my water. And so I think they broke my water around like 6 p.m. and what they do is they were just doing like a normal cervix check, and they had like a stick with a hook at the end. It was a very tiny small hook, and so they just popped it and my water broke, and it didn't hurt at all. I think I was more nervous about it, wondering like how does this process work and stuff, but it didn't hurt at all. I didn't feel anything. So an hour passes by, I think it's around 7 right now, and I have the urge to go poo, to use the bathroom. And so I told the nurses like I'm just going to use the restroom, and like I felt the urge to go poo, and they freaked out because they're like, wait, do not go and have your baby in the bathroom, because usually when you start to feel like you need to go poop, that's when your body is like trying to push the baby out. But I'm like, no, I swear I just need to like sit down and go poop a little or something. And it turned out to just be gas. But right after I came out of the restroom, it was probably like 7:15, my best friend came to visit, and she was there with me for labor, and she had just brought us food. I swear, after I saw her and I was just chatting with her like normal, 10 minutes later I felt the urge to push, like I needed to get Jean out. Like I felt this intense pressure and it shifted so fast. And it's kind of crazy because moms have told me during their second labor that they just pop out their babies way faster than their first. And I felt like I had a pretty quick delivery with my first one, but all of a sudden it just shifted. Like I needed to push, and I felt the most intense pressure on my pelvic floor, but they were still manageable. And so when I started feeling the intense need to push, like it was go time. And all of this happened so fast, but at the same time, the biggest difference now that I look back was that I was still pretty much very calm throughout the whole entire thing. I felt very in control. For this, like I decided to go unmedicated again. The first time I didn't do it with epidural. I just wanted to see how my body was reacting and just overall process. And this time I was just doing the same thing, listening to my body, and I'm like, if I could handle it, awesome. If I needed extra support, then cool. But everything happened so quickly that I was able to really control it with breathing. I closed my eyes the whole entire time when I was pushing, and that really helped me focus, because when I opened my eyes really quickly, there's just like so many people in front of you and the lights. And so I asked the nurses if we could dim the lights a bit, like especially above me, and I think that really helped me concentrate as I was pushing. And I try to push slower and more focused this time, and because the first time I had a 2nd-degree tear and I didn't want to tear as badly, like, right, fingers crossed. And so the controlled breathing really helped me, and I was just imagining like this flow of energy, like I'm delivering my baby, like I'm birthing her out, and like just to keep everything flowing, good energy, not blocking myself with negative thoughts or anything like that. I just felt really connected. I know it doesn't sound as tangible, it sounds kind of woo-woo sometimes, but the mindset part is so important. I've come to realize, especially giving birth second time around, like that was probably the most life-changing part about giving birth, is like how strong you can be, especially when you don't even expect it out of yourself. Like it just kind of comes out of you. So that was a really empowering moment. And after a few pushes, the nurses were telling me like, oh, she has a lot of hair, do you want to see her, like touch her head? And I told them no thank you, like let's just focus on pushing and getting her out, because I felt like it was breaking my momentum. And so I'm really proud of myself for advocating and just speaking up, because I wouldn't have known to like tune into myself during the first time. And so I think that was one of the beautiful things about experiencing a second time, was I was able to ask questions and just really tune into my body more. And so after a few pushes, I pushed her out within like 10 minutes, and then it was like 7:46 p.m. when Jean was born. And when she came out, it was so sweet. Like she looked so much like her big sister, but then also she has her own look going on. She has the most peaceful energy, and everyone was just so kind and sweet. It was a really wonderful birth experience, and I'm so grateful for the staff. I can't believe she's 3 months now when I'm telling the story. But yeah, it was just the sweetest moment holding her in my arms, because one of the biggest things about that I was worried about was, wow, how is life going to be with 2 girls, with 2 babies? Like, how will my heart love another baby as much as my firstborn? And holding her like for the first time gave me such a big sense of peace. And you have all this anticipation built up, and then the moment is finally here. Wow, you slept through mommy's entire story. But yeah, it was such a beautiful experience, and I just felt the sense of peace, and I'm so grateful that we were able to have another wonderful birth experience. Like, I can't believe I'm a mom of 2 girls. Like, where has the time gone? I felt like I just gave birth to Noelle, like, and here's Jean, and I just love being their mom so much. And it was wild because it was something that I thought about, like, oh, we're gonna grow our family, like, is it gonna happen? Like, and then I was pregnant, and then all of a sudden I gave birth, and now she's here and she's 3 months old. It's just wild, and I can't thank you all enough for your kind support and just letting me share my story with you. And I love being able to connect with you all through our motherhood journeys, and being able to like support you and just, you know, just be there for each other in this wonderful stage of life. And wow, she fell back asleep again. She was starting to wake up, and yeah, and I'm like, I'm trying to think of what else happened, but it all happened so quickly. We had like a 2-night stay at the hospital, and now I'm like in the postpartum phase, and just really adjusting to life as a mom of 2. So that'll probably be a different story and different update, different video, I mean. And yeah, so that was our birth story. It happened all so quickly. But let me know if it brought you any comfort, and I would love to hear about your own birth experience too, or if you are expecting or you just gave birth recently. Like, leave it in the comments below. We could cheer each other on, here to support each other in this wonderful journey of motherhood. And I think I need to go feed this baby girl now. She's starting to wake up soon. I can't believe she like slept through this whole thing while I was talking. It must be really comfortable. But yeah, it's been super sweet so far. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. It was so wonderful catching up with you all, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Bye everyone.